Hi, this is David Consumer again. On this video, I want to talk about samplers on Ray poketrack. I tried to capture all the things that a tracker can do with a sample, essentially, but it's pretty non-visual. So the idea is like very similar to what you kind of do with other things, right? Where you sequence it in one step, and then you kind of think about how the instrument works in a different step. So if we look at this instrument, let's start with an Amen break. And so I'll just load the sampler and I'll load the file. I talked about this a bit in the SF2 video, but one idea with all the files is that it can support a lot of different formats like WAV files and MP3s and OGGs and stuff like that, but they all are relative to the file that you save. So when you save this, it'll try and figure out the relative paths of everything. So it does pay to kind of keep all your music stuff together, like keep all your sound files like in a place that's close to the samples that you're going to use. If you're distributing a song, you need to distribute the relative path as well. So keep it all in one folder. Then you can just give people a zip of that collection of samples and SF2 files and your song file, and it'll all just work together. So we've got this thing here, and you can see that there's some options. So we have loop, and this is like the loop type, and these correlate to like tracker style looping, where you can do ping pong, forward, or no loop, like this is a one shot. And then you can also do the loop start and loop end, so you can have it play up to a point, and then it hits the loop end and then goes back to the beginning, and maybe the beginning isn't even the beginning of the sample. Now the reason that's important is it works really good for instruments that have like repeating parts. Like if you have a sustain on, for example, like a string instrument, you might want kind of an intro sound where it like rises up in volume, but then there's a sustained sound where if you hold the key down, it'll continue looping over like a segment of it, and it sounds better. It sounds more like real strings or whatever. But these are all just, pretty standard like tracker sort of stuff. I think the only one that's different is maybe this one, which is like the start. It's similar to the loop start, but it's like the start of the sample. And that way you can do stuff like you can chop out like individual parts. Like if you wanted to make several instruments that were just like one-shot pieces of Amen, like here's the kick, here's the snare, here's the that sort of thing. You could do that, and it's kind of a way to get out of having to like have an editor. Like there's no wave editor. You just kind of have to play with it. But let's make this a ping pong loop, and again it's Amen break, so we can listen to how that is. Now I'm going to set the BPM really low so we can get more going on in a track. I'll just set it to like the lowest. Here's 40. So if I add it, you can hear like what's going on. You should hear. And you can hear it kind of jumping, right? That's because it's like hitting before. So here's something where loop start and loop end might help, because you can kind of like tune where it's supposed to go. Let's set the start to let's re-trigger the start. Let's change what it does. So if you look here, 4 is the parameter number. So if we go to the pattern again, anything I put in this pattern field in 4 should be like the start of the sample. Like where does it start? And then so I can press that key to fill it up. That's the I don't know. I forget it if it's the X or Y. I'm using my keyboard. Let me. I'll look it up really quick. This is the problem with mapping to NES controllers. It doesn't necessarily always work. Okay, so that's X. So X is like fill everything, and Y is like delete everything on a column. Okay, so So this here, we can set the start to anything we want. Since we don't have a lot of stuff in between, I'm going to use B to like delete the stuff in between. So it won't be setting the start of the loop if it's not actually playing music. That's not really necessary, but I think it makes it a little bit clearer like how it works. So we're going to start at 0, and then let's set the offset here to, what's good? Well, we could just try setting it to like whatever is in the thing. So like whatever whatever the current track it is. And let's see what that sounds like. So this is B, O, B. Okay. Now that sounds a little better. I could see that being the start of something. So another thing is we can also set the note here. If you wanted to play around with pitch. And I'll set this to offset in the same place. And this will kind of glitch, but it'll change the pitch. Now, one thing I want to do to kind of clean up this pattern, I want to make it sort of a little bit, I don't know, sharper, like sound like it goes to the pattern a little better. Because what's happening is sometimes it'll play this and then it'll do this, and it's not like those old trackers where one will cut it out. It doesn't cut out, so it'll keep playing unless you like do something to stop it. So I'm gonna just put an end note here, and let's see what that sounds like. Now I feel like this doesn't sound great as it is, but maybe if we combine it with another, like a kick drum or something, we might be able to make it sound like it sort of goes with it a little better. There's a lot of stuff like this where I don't know. I might change how these instruments work. Like sampler might just work better if it was more like an old tracker. Where as soon as it hits the next instrument, it just stops immediately. Part of the idea is that I want polyphony to work, and so that's a little bit tricky. Like, for example, if I have a MIDI keyboard and I'm inputting like multiple notes, I want that to work. I also want to, sometimes you want to be able to overlap things. So I don't know, maybe if I just had an option in here, I could default to like the old tracker behavior, but then you can like turn off an option and you can do weird stuff with it. I don't know. We'll see. But for now, we've got a drum here on instrument 1. And so let's go to another pattern and let's make a really simple one. We'll just make... oh, whoops. Oh, wait. I hit the wrong pattern. I always get mixed up on the keys. This is probably something you're going to experience. Maybe this thing is new, right? So I haven't used it to make a lot of music. But all right, so we have pattern 0, which is like our amen being kind of jacked up, and then we have our drum, which we're going to try and use this to like sort of unify it, make it sound better together. Okay, so I want to set everything to 1, and I just want some simple kick drum on the beat. Now, because our BPM is really slow, I'm going to double it up. Okay, so now we have 2 parts, and that means that we can go here and we can add 1 and 0. I don't know, still sounds kind of jacked. All right, so let's think about what can we do here. So I think the off, maybe it's okay that it overlaps a little bit. It doesn't sound too bad. Honestly, it doesn't really sound like it's overlapping, so it might not work the way I think. that's sort of what I was intending when I put it together, but there's been a lot of development since then. Like I've done a lot of other stuff, so I may have actually changed it. This may be more similar to, what I expect, just by accident. But let's try doing more offsets. And we'll use this as kind of like let's do this. So we'll use it as kind of like the snare. So if we have the kick drum on every other pattern, if we fill in here, it doesn't really matter what's in there as long as it sounds kind of snare-ish. It'll be like staticky because this is like a mess of samples, like we're putting in weird stuff. And then let's also, I do like that pitch thing at the end, so let's do something like that. Okay, and then again, if we look at our sampler, the start, which is like the offset, that is 4. So anything we do on 4 should work to set the offset. So I'll set this to 4 and fill it in. And again, I just like to delete things that aren't useful. It makes it... Oh, whoops. No, that's wrong. I'm on the wrong column. So let's look here. Oh, this one's just full of problems. Okay, so we are on instrument 0. So let's think about the instrument 0. So that's everything is instrument 0, but the parameter is 4. Is that right? I forgot. Yes, the parameter is 4. Okay, so if we do 4 and then fill it, so again, I like to just delete things that don't apply. Because it can be a little bit confusing. You can actually, in between notes, you can set the parameter just fine because the instrument is already set. So if you did want to, you could like do stuff in between the notes. But for right now, I just kind of want to I want it to only change on the when it first tries to play it. And let's set the offset. And I'm gonna set this one to OF. Now, I'm just going to kind of randomly pick these. I think it'll sound okay, so we'll just see what it sounds like. And so the song view is on select and left. And so we want to hit play here so that we hear both of them together. Let's see what that sounds like. Bit of a mess, but it sounds kind of cool. So I could see this being the start of, I don't know, some kind of breakcore weirdness. But maybe it needs more work on the offsets. Maybe it needs a little more work on the looping. I'm really not sure. One thing I am going to do is I'm not really using the ping pong loop because I don't let it play long enough. So I'm just going to turn that off. I don't know if that really changes anything, but it might. And then I think I'm going to, if we play it, you can see how it's just kind of switching off at the beginning of the sample on the start. I think I want something a little bit more dramatic. So let's really go nuts. So again, if you press A and then you press left and right, that's like big jumps, and so that'll jump 16 at a time. It jumps things in the second digit, in the 16th place, because this is like hexadecimal or whatever. And so yeah, I'm gonna jump around a lot. Let's go wildly back and forth. I don't know if it makes a difference because the sample is pretty uniform. Honestly, it doesn't have like a lot of different stuff in different parts or anything. But let's see what that sounds like. Another thing we could do is we could just speed it up because we're kind of using it different now. Speed the whole song up and just see if that makes it sound a little crazier. Maybe a little too crazy. it's not great, but really isn't my this really isn't my musical genre. I'm sure you guys can think of much better ways to make cool breakcore. So that's the basic idea of the sampler, and it should you should be able to use it for all kinds of things. Different styles of music. I think some things that might change are, I might like kind of set up the way that it does like the envelope on looping a little bit different. So like when you hit it, if you could use like a ADSR, for example, it would change like the dynamics of it, which might make it sound better. I'm not really sure, but yeah, that's mostly it. Have fun.